Now in its 10th year, this is GabNet. Talk like you've never heard it before.
Hey everybody, live from Harlem in New York City, it's me, I'm Alex, and this is the Ramble. I hope all of you were listening last week when we talked to Larry Bubbles Brown and we posed the question, and then I looked up the answer on how much a carton of cigarettes costs these days. It's been a long time, Larry, since I smoked.
Prohibitive, yes.
It's been a long time since I smoked, so I have no idea what they cost. What do you think a carton of cigarettes costs?
Well, how many packs are in a carton?
10 packs in a carton.
10 in a pack. Wow.
10 in a carton. 20 cigarettes to a pack. Yeah.
Oh, good Lord. That's going to be 10. That could be $50.
Well, you're very close. My God. I didn't realize this. I used to buy a carton of cigarettes. I remember buying them, God, $10, $8, something like that. Very cheap. This is 45 years ago. A carton of cigarettes can go anywhere from $60 to $120, depending on the brand, state, and local taxes. The average price being closer to $100.
Wow.
I didn't realize it was that high. That's $10 a pack.
Yeah, there's a big underground thing of people, they sell cigarettes, and they buy them in a place where the taxes are lower, then they go resell them and where it's higher.
But sometimes they sell them by the cigarette. You know? I
Wow.
mean, it's just amazing to me that cigarettes cost that much. So anyway.
So if you make an addiction, if you make it too expensive, doesn't that encourage crime at one point?
Well, it certainly does. You want to make something illegal, that's fine. But when you make it illegal, there's going to be especially if it's a popular commodity like cigarettes are, it's going to be, they're going to go out and find ways of getting it cheaper for you, you know. Mm-hmm. There are some states, like you go to some states, the tobacco-producing states, and I believe, if I'm not wrong, that they are pretty expensive. I mean, pretty cheap, rather, in the tobacco-producing states. They don't put taxes on them, whatever. You can get them very cheap. So if you're like traveling up the East Coast, I think if you stop in some place like Virginia or whatever, which is a tobacco-producing state, you can buy a whole bunch of cigarettes, packs and packs, cartons and cartons and cartons, and then take them back home and smoke for at least a week. You know, I mean, it's amazing. It's just amazing.
We should invest in a tobacco farm.
Well, you know, I mean, people like Philip Morris still make a fortune, as I said in the last show last week, that the cost of the thing with cigarettes is that in Europe and other places like India, tobacco is in prominent use. So, you know. Now, do you ever wonder you ever watch a movie and I was watching the show Goliath with Billy Bob Thornton, and he's always smoking throughout the whole thing. Now, I'm sure he probably isn't a smoker at this point, because it's a pretty good thing to assume, because only 1 out of every 5 people you meet up with maybe is a smoker anymore.
Right.
Okay. So how does he smoke all those cigarettes in the show and not have a nicotine problem? Want the answer?
He's smoking phony cigarettes.
Well, he's smoking phony cigarettes, but what do they have in them?
What did they put in there? I remember it was...
I'll tell you. It's hay.
Hay?
Yeah, yeah. So it really doesn't affect the lungs, doesn't affect the system, and you can look effectively like you're smoking cigarettes. So that's how they do it, you know. And a lot of times, if you watch it, they'll take a puff, and then they'll blow out the smoke, and you won't see them then do that again in that scene. You know, so that's how they get people to. Now, how do they get them to bleed? You have to have. I have my own blood formation that I use for videos that I did, and it is K-Rose syrup, okay, and red food coloring.
Okay.
And that's it. Looks just like blood.
You never use ketchup.
Never use ketchup. No, that's too much of a problem. Also with K-Roll, the good thing is you can put it in somebody's mouth, for instance. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden you shoot them and you get blood to come out of their mouth, and they just simply spit out this formulation I've come up with. So I don't know what they're using now. They may have their own formulation, but K-Rose syrup and red food dye coloring was the easiest one to do because you can get both of those things in a grocery store. So I'm just spoiling all the magic of the movies.
Yes. Speaking of which, I had a question I wanted to ask you about movies.
Okay.
Which was the first color film was long before talkies.
Well, yes, you're right. In fact, the first full color film, the first film completely in color, was The Black Pirate with Douglas Fairbanks Sr. But it was not Technicolor. It was Technicolor, but it was two-strip Technicolor. In other words, they only used two colors as the primary colors in two-strip Technicolor, and what was missing was, I'm trying to remember now. I think it might have been blue, but I'm not sure which one was missing. The cyan. And it wasn't until many years later that Technicolor, they did quite a few films using that technique, sometimes partially in a film, sometimes for the whole film. But it wasn't until I think it was 1936 that they came out with full color Technicolor. And what it was a one. I'm not going to explain how they did it, but they took all three primary colors and were able to put them on a dye transfer that made the film a full color picture. Okay? Had to be shot with 3 different negatives, and then it was processed into a single strip that they would send out to the theaters that were in color.
Well, that sounds complicated.
It was very complicated. If you asked me to explain it to you, it was called dye sublimation or something like that, in which they were able to then get the other third color in there by process of elimination and whatever. And then they would print these things up at the plant. They were shot on cameras that were so huge they couldn't really move them around a lot because they had 3 cameras in there to do the 3 negatives for each of the colors, in which there was a filter on each camera that kept certain colors from not producing. And then they put them together and you had a full color picture. So the reason a lot of the old Technicolor pictures are able to be restored so easily is that, although not easily in some cases, is because there were 3 strips of black and white doesn't fade. All right? The only problem was that in those older films, they were done on what's called silver nitrate stock, and it was highly flammable. And it also started to dissolve as time went on. So like when they tried to restore Gone with the Wind for a release, I think, in about 1950s somewhere, they had a problem because they could restore most of the film, but the 7th reel was just, they couldn't find a copy of it that wasn't just, the theater copy. And they finally found a 3-strip version, I think, in India. And they were able to then restore the film. But if they lost any one of these, or they shrunk, for instance, that was another problem. They would shrink, and then when you tried to make all three come together, it didn't work because one of them was a little off kilter. So they've had to deal with that all these years. And so some of your films, like Gone with the Wind, had a big problem just because of the film stock.
Yeah, I was going to say that must have been the first big mainstream film that was
No,
color.
the first
Gone with
film, the
Wind.
first film ever in 3-strip Technicolor, was Becky Sharp, 1936, I believe. It wasn't until 1939 we got to Gone with the Wind, and people would like to think the first Technicolor picture was probably The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, yeah.
But it wasn't. No, not by a mile. Becky Sharp was the first one, and if you see a restored copy of Becky Sharp, it looks as good as it did when they first released it.
Really?
Yeah.
That must. I wonder what the public reaction was to the first film like that.
Well, you know, I mean, I think a lot of the studios said, well, you know, everybody watches these things in black and white. Why do we need color? But then they found that when they started doing show pictures like Gone with the Wind and The Wizard of Oz, which both, by the way, came out in the same year,
39.
directed by the same person. Victor Fleming directed both Gone with the Wind.
I did not know that.
Yes, and The Wizard of Oz. Although he didn't do the whole Wizard of Oz, that opening black and white sequence was George Cukor, I believe. And Gone with the Wind had one director who wasn't doing a very good job, so they got rid of him because Fleming had just almost finished up with The Wizard of Oz. They threw him on to Gone with the Wind. How do I know this shit?
God, you're like a film professor.
Jeez almighty. I may be wrong on a few of my facts, but...
That's good knowledge.
well, I can't, it's amazed to me what you forget when you get older. Like yesterday, I was trying to find my website to work on it, and I forgot who was my carrier for my website, which is GoDaddy. I know that all the time, and I could not remember it for the sake of my life, And here I am, I'm just throwing out terms like Victor Fleming, 3-strip Technicolor, blah, 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 blah. And it's like something, I guess, it's embedded in me. I don't know.
Well, when you think about those 39, you got two big color films, but for the you went for a lot of years where it was still mostly black and white. And
Oh,
after
yeah.
that,
Well, black and white was obviously cheaper to do. And it wasn't until those blockbusters came out, although Wizard of Oz was not a big blockbuster at the time, but you had Gone with the Wind, they saw that it did enhance the sales at the box office. So if you had a movie that you could promote as being in Technicolor, it would draw an audience. So that's why, color came in. If they found the color didn't do any better than black and white, they probably would have never gone to color.
yeah.
You know.
I'm trying to think. I can't recall any color movies from the 40s.
Oh, there were a lot. If you watch something like TCM, which you're probably going to say, "What's that?" They run a lot of MGM pictures, and a lot of the MGM pictures, especially the musicals, in the 40s, were in color. So
Those aren't colorized?
no, those are in color. Those were filmed in color. God, I was watching one last night. I'm trying to remember which one it was now. But, there was a lot of color in the 40s. And then by the time we got to the 50s, almost everything was starting to come out in color. And by the time we got to the 70s, we're talking every picture in color. If you did it in black and white, it was to kind of, for the effect,
Whereas,
some
what was the first TV show in color?
first TV show in color. God, now
Was
I'm trying
it
to
Disney?
It might be, but I'm thinking on a regular basis, week after week. I'm thinking Bonanza, but I may be wrong. I can type in here what was the first. What was the? I'm having. I can't type anymore. What was the first regular? Where's the G? Regular TV show. Okay, or let's say series. That better because I mean week after week.
Yeah, Bonanza sounds like a good guess.
Series. Okay, so I go boom, and we'll find out here. The Queen's Messenger. First television drama.
Never heard of it.
In September 11th. No, first television drama. What was the first regular color TV show? I didn't type that in. You don't do it right. Color TV show. Whoops. Show. Okay, show. TV series. Okay. First regular TV series, broadcast. John Logie Baird's 30-minute television show. What is it? What was the first regular? What was the first hour long? It's not giving me a good answer here. A list of years in television. First regular scheduled TV broadcasts in Germany by a TV station. Oh, well, anyway, I can't find it. I'll look it up. I'll look it up later. I do remember that when they first brought color out, they had a monthly series or something like that were in color. In fact, it was on that they did the second version of Peter Pan with Mary Martin, which is the one that survives today because it is in color. The one that was in black and white, they very rarely ever show. But there was a series, and I can't remember, the Producer's Showcase seems to be suddenly pop into my mind. And it was a regular color TV show, but it was on like once a month, something like that. So that's it.
Yeah, okay, I just remember as a kid, we'd go to the department stores, and they had all these color TVs on, and I just remember how bad the quality was.
Well, the color wasn't terrible. It just wasn't terrific. There was a battle for color. Do you want another lecture here?
I love these, yes.
Color TV had everybody was rushing towards color TV. And of course, RCA wanted to be the first one to get a color TV system approved. And CBS came out with a color system. Let me explain their color system. It worked with a TV set with a giant color wheel in the set, whirring around. It's like something like, 24 frames per second, but it's going, you could probably even hear it. And that version was the one that was originally approved by the FCC. So RCA didn't want to be undone. They wanted to have the first system, so they appealed to the FCC by saying they needed to check this thing out more because people could get killed by the flying wheel zooming out of the television set. And the FCC believed them and gave RCA the and supposedly you laugh about a whirring wheel, wheel going around, but it was better color. It was fuller color than the RCA system, which used like 3 dots in a row in a TV set with each of the main colors. Okay, if you ever went up close to an old TV set, you could see these little dots. It was actually the RCA system wasn't a great system. Then Sony came out with the Trinitron, which was an improvement on the dot system. And That's but RCA won the day with their patent. So, just like they screwed up. Who's that guy that invented the television in San Francisco? Yeah, Farnsworth. See, you remember, son.
He lived near you.
Yeah, well, he created the first TV set in my neighborhood, and it was he actually came out with the first really usable TV process. Because as a kid, he worked in fields, and he remembered the rows of corn. And he said, if I can just lay down a picture a row at a time, you could probably have television. And he invented television before anybody. And Sarnoff came along and just screwed him over royally.
Wow.
And it wasn't until recent years that people giving Farnsworth credit for inventing television. Up until then, RCA, the inventor of television. Oh, fuck you.
Total genius, and they didn't get credit.
Yeah, well, the total genius was Sarnoff, who could make people believe that his company invented it.
Didn't someone say that about Edison? He was actually more of a business genius.
Well, he says he invented film, but actually there was a guy by the name of Freeze Green, I believe is his last name.
So you know all this shit. It's amazing.
In England, who came up with the first film movies. Yeah, so, film was more developed in Europe than it was here. Here it was just, it was used. Over there, they actually figured it was a process, and they kept improving on the process. But, nobody invents something all alone or by themselves. I mean, if you think that Edison invented the light bulb by himself in his kitchen or whatever, no. There's a whole bunch of people working on it. He got the credit because his company did it. And
he was working more on the billing process than the bulb.
Well, you can also argue about, Edison, but you got to give him credit. I mean, the invention of the light bulb was a game changer. And while we don't use light bulbs that he invented anymore, he lit up America. It became an entirely different world as a result of his particular genius in coming up with that.
Yeah, I think before that they had to go out and light lights with whale oil.
Oh yeah, they would light lights. They had igniter that would go around to the lamps and ignite them.
Yeah.
And it was the world flickered for a long, long time, and then here comes Edison, and he just with this light bulb, it just changes the nature of everything. And so there are certain inventions which are game changers, and in the case of the light bulb, it changed everything.
So you would probably know this. Was there ever a movie made about Edison?
Yes, there was a movie. There were two movies made about Edison. Edison, the boy, which was with Mickey Rooney as Thomas Edison.
Oh, really?
And the other one, I believe, was Edison the Man. These were both MGM pictures starring Spencer Tracy. So, see, there were two of them. But I mean, also his life was there was so much legend that Edison created around himself. I mean, again, no one person ever invents anything. If they do, they are just the genius of all geniuses. And it was easier then than it is now. If they say, hey, we want a certain gizmo to do a certain thing, they then throw it off to their laboratories and a bunch of people start working on it.
Like the iPhone. It wasn't one person.
That's right. All right, exactly. So, it's you really have to. You can't say who invented this or who invented that. No, but no one person invented any of it. So, anyway, has been Alex Bennett's little lesson for the day. I don't know where I got all this information, but I got it.
No one knows more about film than you.
Well, no. A lot of people know way more about film. My friend Shecky, when he was alive, knew more about film than I'd ever know. But,
Really?
oh, yeah. If I had him here talking about film, you'd be amazed by what he knew.
Too bad. Shucky sounds like such an interesting guy.
He was an interesting guy and a great friend, And there's a day that doesn't go by that I don't miss him. So, hey, listen, we've run out of time here, Bubs.
But we've learned a lot.
And we'll probably learn a lot next time when Alex and Bubbles sit around and have a healthy little discussion.
Exactly.
Thanks, Bubbles.
you.
I appreciate it. Bye.
All right.
Now in its 10th year, this is GabNet. Talk like you've never heard it before.
Hey, everybody. How are you? Good to see you. We're here on a, let's see here. This is Friday. Wow. The end of the week already, huh? Well, that's amazing. We have one person waiting. I mean, it could be worse because it's one really good person, but I just think it would be nice if we had more. That would be nice, okay? I don't get it, No, well, now we have two. And they're two great people, so let's get them on here as fast as possible, okay? Here we go. Let me just, there we go. Aha. There's Josh. You're not much, you ain't got much light there, Josh. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. And hello there to Kevin. How are you, Kevin?
Hey, Alex, how are you?
I'm doing fine, thank you. And here comes Charlie Wallace. Okay, now we got a nice bunch of people here. Good, terrific. Hello, everybody. And how is your Friday?
It's a Friday.
It's Friday. Yeah, it's Friday.
Got the old lady dinner. She's happy.
You got the old lady dinner?
Yep.
Okay. We had lunch today with my business manager, and he took us out for lunch, and we went to this very nice place for lunch, okay? And what they had that was terrific, that I really loved, was we got these hamburgers, and they put bacon on them. But they didn't just put bacon on them. They put like a thick slab of bacon on them. Have you ever had a slab of bacon? Mm-hmm. Man, where do you get that stuff? I mean, I want it because I love that kind of bacon. I like my bacon bacony.
I'm in a bacon club.
Are you in a really?
Yeah, I got into it about, I don't know, 2 years ago. And there's a place out in Monterey or Seaside out there, Marina, I think it is. Mm-hmm. And it's called Baker's Bacon, and they're gourmet bacon, and they send you, $90 worth of bacon every 3 or 4 months or whatever it is. Yeah, I think I'm on the 6-month program now because at one point I had so much bacon in my freezer I couldn't even keep up.
But you know what I'm talking about?
They send you that thick stuff, and then they send you like lardons, and they send you all kinds of, like Canadian bacon stuff, the real good stuff.
I would like the really thick stuff, the really thick ones.
Yeah, they've got thick, and then they've got really thick. Yeah. It's called Sue's Bacon or something like that.
Really? So could you send me the address of that place?
Yeah.
Or will they accept me?
Probably.
No, okay. All right.
Yeah, okay. It ships quick.
It ships quick? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
they put all kinds of ice and stuff in it, so it'd probably make it across country.
So you say do only a cup 1 month or something at a time.
They got all kinds of different intervals you can get it. At one point, I had it like every 2 months, and I was just every time I turned around, the damn bacon was showing up.
You mean Bacon of the Month Club? Is that what it was?
Yeah, basically? Pretty much. So you can do it in the month if you want.
But do they say, okay, you can also order various bacons, and then you can get the thick stuff if you want it?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I love it. I used to go to this one restaurant that had it for lunch, and you'd order the bacon. It was actually applewood bacon, but
Yeah.
what they handed you was like, it was like a bacon steak almost. You know, it was long like bacon, but it was really thick, and they cooked it. And oh man, I had it today, and I just went crazy. And Marjorie didn't want hers, so I had 2 portions of it. You know, it was
You're a hot
terrific. It was terrific. Let me see here. Arnold Smith. I don't know. Oh, well, there's Mark. Well, I don't trust this. I don't trust this in the least right now. So let me get rid of him. Is he, Mark, are you there?
He's muted.
Mark,
I'm here.
Mark, can you hear me? Nah, I'm going to get rid of him. I'm not trusting this. Hold on a second. Remove. Okay. Remove and report to Zoom. Okay. Don't report. Okay. And let me see here. Who else is here? Ronnie McNutt, Joey Stafford, and Arnold Smith. Okay, none of you seem to at all are my kind of guys. So
Huge assholes right behind him.
huge asshole. Yeah. Emily J. Oh, Emily J. Oh, so they're all trying tonight. I see. They're trying tonight. Okay, well, until
They're
I
Zoom
see.
bombing you all over.
Yeah, they got
Just
four,
like
I got
Russia and Ukraine.
four of them now. You know, but just I'll let them wait there. Doesn't matter. They're in the waiting room. They're wasting their time. They're not wasting mine. Anyway, so here we are on a Friday, and there is again so much Trump to talk about.
Never ending.
Never ending. The man knows how to be the topic of conversation every hour of every day of the year.
Like I say, he's got his own show now, but every day about 3:30.
Does he really?
Sign the executive order.
What's it called? Signing the orders?
Yeah, pretty much.
Basically. Oh,
And then
good.
talk shit.
Yeah, yeah. Is it a fun show? Do you enjoy it?
Sometimes. It's fun to watch him screw up when he talks about him.
Well,
He's got his little minion that stands there and describes what he's
what he's signing.
signing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Because
He's just eating that up.
because Trump doesn't want to know.
No, because if he doesn't know, then he doesn't get blamed for it, right?
Yeah. So.
He gave it to me.
Hold on a second. I just got to turn something on here. All of a sudden, it's asking me if I want to. Yeah, there we go. Okay. No, I don't want to quit and reopen Zoom later. Okay. Oh,
Your
boy.
attorney general has things all stirred up out there again, doesn't she?
Huh?
Is it your attorney general?
Oh yeah, here we got this thing here in New York, okay, where the Justice Department charged our mayor with some pretty skeezy corruption, where he got stuff from Turkey and he got flights to Turkey and he didn't report them and so on and so forth. So they had this whole massive stuff on them, and they were getting ready to lodge a whole bunch of what do they call it? Where you're interfering with the process and whatever. They were going to now add that to the charges. Well, all of a sudden, he goes down, kisses Donald Trump's ass, comes back, and guess what? We suddenly found out that it was dropped by the Justice Department. Now, it has to go through a judge. It hasn't gone through a judge first to approve it. But what happened was the local people who were in the federal government, who were the people in charge of charging him and so on and so forth, they got so incensed by this, they all quit. I think about 5 of them quit. The lead...
It's up to 7 now, and I'm 7 or 8.
Is it 7 or 8 now?
And one of them clerked for Antonin Scalia.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, the woman who's the head of the whole process, was the one who clerk for Antonin Scalia. She's a Republican, and she's incensed by this because they worked for a while getting this case together. They had enough to go get him, and they went and got him. Well, all of a sudden, Trump makes a deal with the mayor, okay, which he claims, I didn't make any kind of deals or whatever. And yet one of his people actually admitted there was a deal that was made. And it's, what's that thing? Huh?
Quid pro quo. Quo.
Yeah, I know it's hard to pronounce. Quid pro quo. There we go.
Yeah.
I can only say it once. Don't ask me to say it again. So, I mean, it was really quite a deal, as you say 7 now have quit. I don't keep up with the news every minute, but
Yeah.
maybe 7 have quit, and that's
I
that's
think
a
a couple
lot.
of them did today. I think a couple of them did today, or one more did. I know that.
Yeah. They did, and they're pissed at it. And now it looks like, here's the latest thing, they're asking the mayor to resign.
Good.
And who's asking him? People like Reverend Al Sharpton,
Yeah.
the black community, who are just upset by the fact that a black man engaged in this kind of stuff. And so they are asking him to resign, which of course he'll probably refuse to do, but he hasn't got any chance of getting reelected in this town,
He should resign.
Huh?
He should resign.
He should
That's for
resign. Oh, absolutely. And more than that, not only should he resign, they should not take these charges away from him. I mean, I think it's terrible. I'm not saying he committed these crimes because he has to be tried first, but if he doesn't want to be tried, then I'll say he's a guilty motherfucker.
One thing I heard today was they actually structured the deal so that they could reopen it and charge him in the future, and that was sort of like an extortion type of thing. It
Oh
says,
yeah. So that
okay,
if you
back out, if you back out on letting us bring ICE into places like Rikers and all, if you back off it, then we'll come back and get you.
Well, he just said he was going to allow ICE to go in and get some of these people who were in the prisons in Rikers Island and deport them. Okay. Everybody's incensed by this because it's so
The king
obvious.
has requested. The king has gotten what he wanted.
Well, but the thing is that people here in New York especially so dislike Trump that anybody that capitulates with Trump is almost a traitor to the city. And that's our mayor. And right now in this government, basically, and I think I would imagine Josh would agree with this, and I thought about it the other day, we really have a new mafia running the country. It's a new mob, and that's what it is, plain and simple. Am I wrong, Josh?
Well, without the violent element, I suppose that's probably true.
Well, we haven't-
certainly.
I think we'll find out there is a violence. Well, what do you mean? We already had the violence. We had January 6th. There's definitely a violence involved with them.
Yeah, but I mean, who's to say that he won't do some violent things to people?
Well, they've certainly moved into, I think what we would call like a extra legal or extra constitutional territory. I mean, they're doing things that are really outside the scope of their authority. I think that's the real argument, and it's unfortunate that Democrats aren't able to articulate things very well, that they're so poor at it, because the real argument isn't so much over a particular organization or a particular policy. The argument really is about who has the authority to make those decisions. And that's what it is about, and that's what it should be about. So they tend to get lost and argue over whether or not they get drawn into the argument over the program rather than the process by which it's supposed to be done. So they should be making better arguments about when things like this are allowed to happen, the types of consequences that it can have when it finally rolls around to things that people might actually care about.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can get rid of one organization of the federal government without congressional approval, realistically, not being smart here, what's to say you can't get rid of another, right?
Right.
I mean,
Exactly.
there's, uh, so one organization goes away that people might shake their head at and say, "Oh, I could care less about that. That's stupid anyway." You can't argue about that. You should be arguing about not arguing. You should be articulating to people, uh, preferably in the way that I laid out last week, that if this happens, eventually it's going to come for something that you actually do care about. And what are you
Well,
going to do then?
well, my question is, why aren't we putting the pressure on the Republicans? I was actually this afternoon while I was at work, the person I was working for had on Christiana Amanpour.
Yeah. Good show, by the way. Good show.
Great show. And
Yeah.
she had on a guy who was a part of the running USAID under the George W. Bush administration. And he was using terms like mafia. He was just lambasting.
Well, it just seems
Trump
so
and Musk.
mob-like.
And just let him know this is a criminal organization and they're actually hurting the U.S. They're actually making us weaker. They're terrible for doing what they're doing is terrible for our national security because the whole world depends on this aid. So it's just shocking. And so why is it only Republicans and pacifists? What's going on with the Republican Party that's sitting there? They're just so afraid of Donald Trump and Elon Musk. We need to just keep pushing pressure on now. I mean, I appreciate Josh's desire to call out the Democrats, and we should, but we really need to call out the Republicans because they're the ones in charge.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the Republicans, though, on one hand, they seem to feel immune from any of this. But on the other hand, they're afraid of Trump. And I don't know what they're afraid of. I mean,
they are immune as long as they're going along with him.
Well, what if they don't go along with him? What's going to happen?
You're fired.
I mean, they can say to their constituency, "I disagreed with him on this particular nominee for a what do you call it, head of a department or whatever." That I disagreed with him on that one. I have a right to disagree with him. And my people shouldn't be mad at that. Here's the reason why I didn't vote for that guy, like Robert Kennedy. I mean, for crying out loud, this guy.
Well, you got Mitch McConnell, who's sitting there being the experiment there because he's at the end of his rope and he's starting to disagree with him here and there. And
yeah, but also he's not running again.
No.
Well, so I've said before that I don't. I'm sorry. I'm saying that's why I've said before that I don't respect him, and I don't respect people like him. I don't respect him now that he did it. I mean, I think I've heard and I've read that he's fallen down 3 or 4 times in the last 6 or 8 months, and apparently one of those times when he fell down, he looked over and said, "Oh, look, there are my balls. They've been under that table this entire time." And he picked him up and put him on, and now he's figured out that he's a United States senator. So
well, the reason he
falls
no
respect
down, the reason he falls down because he had childhood polio.
Yeah,
and so that's why his vote against.
He's also really old.
Well, he's had certain balance problems for a long time.
Yeah, but that could have to do with what I have, which is neuropathy. So.
Well, whatever it is. I mean, I have no
but
personal...
either way, it still didn't stop him from doing what he did over the years, and it's still just because he's getting to the end of his rope, now he's changing his mind. That doesn't make any difference.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I have no personal uh animus towards him or anything. I don't respect him, because what he did was it's wrong. I mean, if he were still majority leader and he still wanted to be majority leader, so in other words, if I heard what I hear he was 82 or something along those lines. If he were 72 years old today, he would have voted for Robert Kennedy in Tulsa.
Oh,
County.
I'm sure.
Right.
I'm sure.
Right.
I'm
I
sure.
mean, that has to be what I would consider that to be a fact.
That was kind of my point. Is that now he's at the end of his rope doing this shit.
Right. So all of a
'Cause
sudden,
it doesn't matter.
all of a sudden he what cares about people or what? Well, no, he never did. I mean, so I mean, I mean, and again, I Democrats will get themselves drawn into these silly arguments instead of doing what I said 2 weeks ago. When are they going to start having their rallies and reminding people that all along the Gulf of America, the chickens are dying since Donald Trump became president of the United States. Chickens are dying every day along the Gulf of America. I hope you feel better now that it's the Gulf of America, but the chickens are still dying and you can't get your eggs. I mean, it's time to start reminding people, just start pushing the way that they've pushed for all these years. I mean, I send these guys a message every day of what they should say when he gets them drawn into these arguments, but they don't. They make the same old. I mean, it's
do you
like
know? Do you know who has
they get
been?
tricked.
Do you know who has been not allowed to go to press conferences any longer or have access to Air Force One?
The Associated Press.
AP,
Associated Press.
I mean,
And their argument is that it's not a violation of free speech. The president has a right to say who comes on the plane and who goes to the press conferences. And I got news for him. He doesn't own that plane. The people own that plane.
right.
And AP, of course, is going to sue him. But they're not buckling. They're not buckling, which is great.
But it's not going to get him anything either. I mean, I don't. But that's my point with that. I guess what I've been saying is the Democrats need to go to the public. They need to go to the people. They need to go on television and say, I couldn't care less whether the AP is in his little press conference or not, because he's not going to say anything that helps people. Chickens are still dying. Your eggs are still fucking expensive. He told you that it wouldn't be.
Right. Right.
He
I don't know
told
about
you
you
that the
guys,
war in
but-
Ukraine would be over with a phone call, and here we are drawing
Has-
ourselves into a war.
Has the price of gas gone out in your part of the country gone up lately?
Yeah, right. I mean, that's what I'm saying.
It's
They
gone
have
up
an
60
opportunity.
cents in the last 2 weeks here.
Yeah,
Oh, really?
And if it went up 60 cents here, and you go onto Facebook,
Sure.
8 months ago, you would have heard nothing but it's Biden, it's Biden, it's Biden.
Right.
And I got a pre-written post that I'm just sitting here waiting to send out
Mm-hmm.
that says, okay, your eggs are up, your gas is up, your groceries are still up.
Mm-hmm.
How's that working for you?
I mean,
Just
well,
waiting to push the button. Because all you ever
Democrats
heard before was everything that went wrong or anything that was out of line. Biden.
Yeah, I mean, Democrats don't want to.
Democrats just sit back and
Yeah.
let him do it.
I mean, why doesn't one of them go on TV and just say, "Listen, I'll be honest with you. I'm not that worried about the USAID thing. It's about the way that you get rid of federal agencies and what it is, blah 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 blah." But and also around Washington, a big secret that we don't really tell anybody that's not really a secret is a lot of the money that funds that agency actually is for clandestine operations, because a lot of the people that work for USAID actually work for the CIA. And I don't think we like advertising that, but I'm pretty sure if you look into it, that's a fact. Like 2 or 3 of those people in Iraq that were putting on the Sesame Street thing, I guarantee you at least one of them works for the CIA to collect intelligence. So, I mean, why don't they just start telling people the real deal? I mean, instead they'll get into some philosophical argument that they're never going to win with people who couldn't give a shit less about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, they have
about
to.
suing.
I'm just saying they have to go to the people, because the people are the ones that have told them they weren't listening to their arguments. So they have to figure out how to communicate better with the people. I mean, so if they have to change the way they talk, then they need to do that. They need to find someone who can educate them on it and 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 learn from that and start talking to them in ways that make them realize these policies are not what you're being sold.
Okay, do you think we should do what the Republicans do now and what Trump does, and that's lie?
I don't think you have to lie. I think I gave you some answers to questions last week where I think we agreed. I said some things that sounded funny and crazy and stupid, but I didn't tell any lies.
Yeah.
Right?
That's the whole point. I mean,
Right. I didn't. I mean, are hundreds of thousands of chickens not dying? Right? You know, I'm just saying. I mean,
Right.
right?
your
I
eggs
want to
$9
find a way
a-
to blame that on Trump, but it's not a. It's. I'm not making that up. The chickens are fucking still dying. So I mean, that's what I'm saying. They got to find a way to make people think this shit's his fault. You know, I don't even care if it is his fault. Who gives a shit about that? Make people think it's his fault. That's the game they need to start playing.
Right.
But they don't have to lie to do that.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
they don't have.
No.
They don't have to make anything up. Gas and eggs are more expensive since January the 20th. That's a fact.
Mm-hmm.
So find a way to make people understand that. I mean, what you know, you don't have to tell lies to do that. But they need to find a way to twist words to make it look like it's his fault.
What are his fans going to say, though? What are his acolytes going to say when you say that?
They're
I
going
don't
to say
care.
what they're saying today. It's Biden's fault. We
Right.
picked up this mess.
Yeah.
But that wears off after a couple
I
more
was just going to
months.
say that, yeah.
Right. So I don't care. I'll go on Fox News and argue with them
Go
all
right
day
now.
long. Doesn't matter to
Start.
me. Yeah,
I
but
mean,
that's
it makes
right.
sense.
I mean, why does a Democrat just go on Fox News and be like, yeah, that's fine. They want to go to the jails in New York City and get some fucking criminals and haul them out of here?
If this was
That's
January
fine.
1st or January 20th, 21,
You
they'd be
know?
doing the same thing back.
You want me to...
Look at Biden. He put up all of the, it goes both ways.
Actually, they
I mean,
did have a Democrat.
care.
They did have a Democrat on Fox today. It's the mayor of New York.
Yeah, I
yes,
saw that.
Yes.
I saw that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's like they just need to evolve. It's, you know,
They say
I don't think it's that difficult, but you know, I mean, I don't even remember what the 4 or 5 issues that we talked about last Friday were, but for every one of them, I could have given you an answer with no lies where I could have talked the way they talk. I mean, but about Trump. And they should be doing that every single day. And like I said, they need to find somebody and they need to push them out there and they need to start having rallies and they need to start having them now and they need to have them relentlessly for 4 fucking years. They need to hit him every single day.
Jeff?
Yeah, I've heard some of these
Uh-oh.
people. Am I on?
Yeah, but I think
Sort of
it's
muffled.
using those earplugs because now we can't hear you at all because it's going to the earphones to pick up your voice.
And you got to change the.
You got to switch it to speakers.
Yeah, well, yeah.
He's going to get Pam.
Yeah, tech support.
You know, you could probably put them back in your ear, but put them in lightly. Don't put them in heavy.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
No.
Can you hear me, Jeff?
No, because he doesn't
took
have
him out.
ears.
Took him out.
Oops. Oops.
Oh,
Well.
well. Anyway, I just, it's vexing me a lot, especially this whole thing with our mayor. I mean, you got a crook who is allowing another crook to be an even bigger crook. I don't, huh?
It's crazy. I mean, and now Curtis Lee was just announced, Alex, he's running for mayor.
Oh, well, he's always
Yeah.
running for mayor.
I was
Yeah,
just
he
gonna
run
say,
it before. Yeah.
Of course,
Yeah.
I wish I could say nasty things about Curtis Lewa, but he got on the phone once with somebody to talk to me and told me what a fan he was. So, what am I, I'm like Trump. You compliment me, I'm your bitch. Okay.
But you know what I was going to tell you guys? Even I was going to ask Josh too. You know what Trump is the master of? It's the misinformation, really. there's a lot of stupid people that believe this, like these conspiracy theories. They, even if the truth I think is in front of their face 6 months from now, I still think that hardcore MAGA will still believe whatever he says.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I just think that, we know people who we assume are more intelligent than that, who think Trump is the best thing ever to happen since canned ham.
Sure.
And
But I don't know that Democrats have to fret over that, because that number is solidly remained the same for a decade now. It's 35, 36, 37%, He got elected again because he managed to convince 4 or 5% of the people that decide the election to give him another try. I mean,
Do
it
you
was
think
still
the
a
problem, though-
51-49 deal,
Do you think the real problem here is, and I don't know that I'm right or I'm wrong on this, but that the real problem is that America just isn't happy with what they have. In other words, we've gotten to the point where maybe we won't have anything more than a one-term president. I mean, even Trump is a one-term president twice. But they go back and forth. Maybe if we try Trump again, it'll work. Well, you remember what it was like last time? I mean, America has this mass amnesia that goes on, where they don't remember what it was like under Trump the last time, and the reason why you voted for Biden over Trump.
Can I ask you a question, Alex, maybe to you? Because you're in a different generation. I don't mean in an ageist sense. Do you think my generation and Josh's generation have failed us? Like, Josh is a straight thinker. We can agree on and disagree on things. He can see the bullshit, and it's like, he won't fall for it. Do you think, Josh, our generation of 40s and 50s, we put Trump in, I think, more or less? Like, I see some of these kids I went to high school with. I was going to the cemetery to buy flowers.
I'll tell you what I think it is.
And I saw them talking like, oh.
I think part of it has to do with a television generation who grew up on television and can't tell the difference between reality and television.
Alex, would your dad have ever voted for Trump if he would have saw him today? They would probably laugh me out of the room.
No, my father would be upset by him, rather. Would be absolutely upset by it. As upset as I am or anybody on this panel right now. But the fact is that the generation today is a generation that was raised on television, and they believe what they see on television. And what they believed initially was this guy on The Apprentice who was being touted fictionally as being really good with money. Okay? And so America believed that the first time around, this generation that grew up on television. And then he didn't do very well, so the next time they voted for Biden. But then they were unhappy with Biden. Anything that goes wrong is automatically the president's fault, and it shouldn't be considered the president's fault. I'm not going to blame the whole poultry thing started under Biden. Some of the killings and so on of the chickens because of, poultry diseases. I'm not even going to blame that on Trump because it's something that just happened, and there's only one way to solve it, and that's to kill lots of chickens.
Oh, I'd be blaming it on him every day.
Yeah, well,
Anti-chicken. There's a chicken fucking holocaust. They're putting chickens in fucking train cars, and they're fucking gassing the shit out of them. They should have a Democrat on TikTok 24 hours a day saying that shit.
They might believe it. He's right.
Well, let's go back to the COVID-19 pandemic. And once again, it just happened while Trump was president. But it's how he responded to it.
Well, that was the problem there.
And now we've got bird flu. And now how is Trump going to respond to it now that he has anti-vaxxer in charge?
Yeah, measles are breaking out now.
It's insane. It's not that these things happen; it's how you handle it.
That's exactly
it. Basically, millions of people, hundreds of thousands in the U.S. died that didn't need to die because of the way Trump mishandled the pandemic.
If anything, the way
That's a
he
fact.
didn't, the
That's a
way he,
fact.
the
Yeah,
way he
exactly.
didn't handle the pandemic, he was
Or
slow to get
mishandled.
on board.
Mishandled, intentionally
Yes.
mishandled.
Okay.
What he admitted to Bob Woodward,
Yeah, remember that?
mid-February of 2020, that this was a really serious problem, and that we and that we're really this is something that's going to be a killer,
Mhm.
and he didn't, and nothing came out public. It does, and Woodward didn't even say anything until his damn book.
Yeah, I didn't like that he did that, Tom.
You
I thought he
know,
owed a
it's like-
disservice to us. He should have said something.
And the constant lies all through February, March says, oh, it's the cases are going down, everything's going to go
The
down,
political
go
hoax.
fine, we don't need to shut down, and breeding distrust against the health establishment of Dr. Fauci.
Mhm.
Yeah, he
Convincing
totally
people that
discredited
they need
Fauci
to-
now.
telling people that they need to, ingest disinfectants.
Mhm. Yeah.
I mean,
He lied.
he was a total disaster when it came to the pandemic.
Well, wasn't it a shame? I think that Biden had to give a dispensation to
Yeah.
Dr. Fauci.
Yeah,
they
he's
wouldn't-
got death
Horrible,
threats. I
but
read
it made sense. I mean, he had to give him a pardon
Mhm.
to prevent him from
Yeah.
being harassed. And even now, I mean, Trump has cut off his security.
He's a dick.
He's cut off the security of people whose lives have been threatened.
Because
Yeah.
they didn't agree with Trump because
They weren't loyal to
they weren't loyal to Trump.
They weren't
Yeah, he
loyal.
didn't lie enough to him. Fauci was trying to be honest, and you can't be honest in an election year. I got to win.
Well, I mean, the trouble Fauci had is he felt embarrassed by having to even be hauled up in front of those press conferences.
Exactly, Alex. Can you imagine?
And when
if
he
pulled
started
Fauci
in on
aside?
his, do you think we could maybe, I don't know, drink bleach? Come
You
on.
can't make it's like a sour.
Well, he didn't say bleach, but it was like talking about like infrared.
No, he
like a
did,
light
he did
and
bring,
stuff like that.
but he did
He's
bring.
just going off as his usual.
Am I
and-
wrong?
and
Am
just
I
like-
wrong, or didn't he bring up bleach?
No, he didn't.
Disinfectant.
It's like a disinfectant,
Okay,
but
same
still, it's like,
Same
it's
thing.
like what is he
Lysol.
talking?
Yeah.
But
He's
people
cleaning the
did drink
fucking
bleach.
bathroom, not
Well,
swallowing.
when you do something
People
like
did
that,
drink.
when you-
People did drink bleach.
they did. Yeah.
They
It's
did.
stupid. I mean, I don't mean it in a bad sense. It's like
You know, he has no idea that as president, you say something
yeah.
and you can change the whole nature of any number of things, whether it's a war somewhere or something. You got to be careful what you say.
That's exactly it, Alex. Look, he said
He
they
knows
were
that now.
stolen and they were going crazy.
What were we saying, Kevin?
He knows that now because the shit that he's saying, he knows he's stirring it up.
Mhm.
Yeah, but stirring it up is one thing, but creating situations which are deadly,
Yeah.
you know,
No.
and he's fully capable of that. He doesn't care what he says. He only cares what he cares what Donald Trump says. You know.
Yeah. Can you imagine what he really is like? Like, I would love to know. Imagine if you got to talk to Fauci.
I hear
outside.
that on a personal level, he's quite funny and humorous.
Really?
And quite nice to hang out with. Yeah, that's what I've heard. He does have that. I know everybody finds that impossible to believe, but that's what people say about him. And these aren't necessarily people who are in love with him necessarily and want to keep him happy. They just feel that, hey, you know.
Well, he knows how to turn it on, and you can see that when he met
He has a
the
charm
president
about
I'll
at the
tell you
front door.
a couple of things he does. It just drives me crazy. You ever see him shake hands?
I have to look at it again. Why? How's he do it?
He takes the person's hand and then he pulls it into him
Why is that? Then you think? Does that mean
because
something?
he's taking the upper hand. He always pulls.
And he'll grab the other arm. He'll grab the arm.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to slap you high five.
That's a power shake.
It's a power thing. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And the other thing I noticed is he's obsessive compulsive. You ever see him come down the plane, down the ladder? What does he do? Look
Does he
closely
hold it?
next time.
Got to wipe the toilet paper off his shoe first.
Well, that he has to get rid of that.
Yeah, that was funny.
But he taps the railing
The rail.
I gotta watch
3 times.
Ooh, so
Every
he does-
time he does it.
He's like
And lately,
Raymond.
he's been doing this. He does this now too.
Really? But if you see, still coming down the plane, he
Yeah.
taps the and he has
Did
to
it
hold.
getting on the helicopter? He did that last term.
He has to hold on to it too because he's incapable of walking up the stairs on his own. I mean, without the aid of toilet paper. So
That was funny.
Or an umbrella.
so where what's going to happen to us? I mean, it's really enough is enough already. I've got my entertainment's worth. Now let's get on with the business of running a country.
It's like I said, it's not going to stop. It's going to keep going as long as he's let loose.
And
And,
he's going to keep doing.
he's got Musk sitting there closing up USAID and the FPCP, whatever the hell it is, the Financial Protection Bureau.
Yeah.
And he's got all those contracts with the government right now, and they want to go investigate them. Now that they're taking that away, they don't have to investigate them. I mean, the shit that's going on is going to get worse and worse and worse.
But here's the thing, we talk about the we talk about the Republicans, and we talk about why are they the way they are. Well, for a moment, don't you think it's time that these news operations began to understand that if they don't talk about him 24/7, it'll drive him nuts? That by not talking about him, they're going to be making more of a statement than by talking about him? I mean, occasionally you got to talk about him because he does something so egregious that you got to bring it up. But, I tune into MSNBC, and the whole hour is nothing but Trump this, Trump that.
Well, the Democrats should say something to seize the narrative.
Yeah, well, that we agree with you.
I would get on television and say what I think, what comes into my mind, not what I thought out. I would say he promised you America first, and what you got was a fucking South African and a goddamn Pakistani or a fucking Indian to run the FBI and the Department of Government Efficiency. So much for America first.
Yeah.
That's what I would say. And then they would say, oh, you're such a racist and you don't like Indian people and people from South Africa. You're so mean. That's just so rude. No, I just told you the fucking truth, okay? If you didn't like the truth, that's fine, but that's the truth.
Well,
all right?
Andy Kim.
So there
Andy
you go.
Kim called him a dick.
Yeah.
What?
Just go on TV and say the guy,
How dare you call him a dick? It's not a fair thing to call him a dick. Says, well, yeah, he's a dick.
Just go on TV and say it.
Yeah.
Imagine
Again, I didn't tell any lies. I mean, it's like that's the truth. Just go on TV and get people thinking about it.
Right.
I mean, that's the situation. Why is there not somebody on TV every day instead of arguing about whether or not, this is good or bad or whatever? Why are they not telling people this fucking South African is coming for your Social Security and your Medicare? And for all you farmers out there, I want you to drive down to the courthouse and get your farm subsidy, and I want you to fucking hold on to it because it might be the last one you ever get. Because the guy who has the battery powered stuff that you used to hate, that then you decided you liked because your homeboy liked, now all of a sudden is coming for you, and you might have to go back to hating him. So you need to start thinking about that here pretty soon. I want you to get that check, and I want you to find somewhere to put it that it'll make that 0.25% fucking interest that you'll never be able to live off of, and I hope you enjoy it. And you might be able to get like 2 or 3 eggs out of it because, oh, by the way, they cost so much goddamn money now that you can't even afford them. So
wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Tell them.
Elon Musk, is he a citizen?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
I don't think so.
Don't care. Wasn't fucking born here. Has an accent. That's not an American to me anymore. Sorry.
Yeah, right.
Under the current definition, you don't look like
Hold on a
fucking me.
second.
You're not an American. See ya.
Wait a minute. Hold on a
Charlie's
second.
checking.
Echo, is Elon Musk an American?
Asking you a citizen.
Citizen.
The United States, Canada, and South Africa.
Wait a minute. Echo, is Elon Musk a citizen?
Elon Musk became a U.S. citizen in 2002.
Okay, he is.
Yeah.
10
Okay.
in 2002.
Elon Musk took the oath of American citizenship with 3,500 other immigrants at the Pomona Fairplex in a ceremony he calls actually very moving. Musk was born in Pretoria,
He was
South
born in
Africa.
Pretoria, South Africa. Yeah, but he is an American citizen.
Doesn't matter to me.
Yeah. But you know, he wasn't he wasn't elected president, and he's doing the work of a president.
Yeah. Why aren't they calling him that every day? Why don't they call him the president every day?
They are.
And why don't they say how long? You know,
You know
every
what?
time Diaper Don gets offended, he goes poo poo in his pants and has to fucking do something to get back to somebody. Oh, Diaper Don, you go poo poo in his pants every time someone mean to him. He's such a wee old baby. He make poo poo in his
You know,
pants
we
again.
got to get you to go on MSNBC.
Just,
with us.
I mean,
You know?
why do I got to do it? These fucking guys do this shit for a living. They can't figure it out.
What pisses me off about somebody like MSNBC, if you went on MSNBC and did what you're doing right now, which would be thoroughly appropriate, okay,
Yeah.
you'd never be asked back again.
Yeah, probably
Why?
not.
Because
Again, I
you're
didn't.
too critical of Donald Trump.
Right. I mean, I didn't tell any lies. John Bolton offends him, he takes away security detail. General Milley offends him, he takes away security. So every time somebody offends him, instead of being a man and moving on, Diaper Don goes poo poo in his pants, and he has to do something to get back at them and get even, like a third grader.
Diaper Don.
Well, I want men to lead the United States of America, not guys who go poo poo in their pants every time somebody upsets them.
Well, I like Diaper Dan.
Okay, but that's
Diaper
good.
Don.
I mean,
That's
just start going at him all the time, relentlessly. I
He-
told you before, he's winning the game because he's the only one playing the game.
but the people, you go to MSNBC and those people are all trying to be nice about it.
Well,
You know,
that's
and they
not the
shouldn't
game that
be.
we're playing right
They
now.
shouldn't be.
I don't like the one that we're playing right now, but I didn't make the rules.
Yeah.
I'm just too bad that I'm not doing something at Sirius XM and I can go over to MSNBC and say, hey, you know, I'd like to be a panelist for you sometime, and then go on and do exactly what you're saying. Of course, I'd never be asked back again.
That'd be it. When are you going back on? Never. What happened?
Never be
Yeah,
asked
they
back.
they would come back from break and have some kind of retraction about everything you said, so that he wouldn't sue them.
Yeah, that's what they're really worried about because he's got lawsuits going on like crazy.
Marjorie thought she heard that our mayor is thinking about becoming a Republican.
I heard that too.
Duh.
My people heard that. Yep, and running again.
To run as a Republican. Yeah.
Wouldn't surprise me.
That wouldn't surprise me at all.
Which would mean that I
Matter of
probably,
fact, I was going to mention that a few minutes ago.
I think Cuomo would run a good chance
Oh, I hope he goes in.
of running for mayor and winning. Yeah.
Oh, he'll win easy, I
Yeah.
think.
No, would you vote? You'd vote for him, wouldn't you? Tell
Oh,
me.
yeah.
Yeah.
I would love Cuomo if he throws his hat in the ring. I'm already looking at the odds that say if he throws it in, he's already leading. But it'll be a landslide.
Yeah. Yeah. And he'd be a great mayor. We'd be very happy with him. You
And we know he won't kiss Trump's ass. That's what I like.
You might pat some woman's ass, but that we don't care. We
I
don't
mean, it doesn't
care.
bother me as long as he helps us.
I was so mad that the guy quit so easily.
Yeah, they forced him out.
You know,
That was a
because
good job
in
with
the
Al
end,
Franken.
in the end, all the investigations prove that he didn't do anything. You know,
What did he compliment her, Alex? What was that again?
he supposedly was. Some women were claiming he was coming on to them, and you know, come on, he's a single guy. And he
was
could be
crazy.
flattering to somebody, you know, but you got to be really careful today when you're in his position. You know,
I see. Yeah.
I mean, I would imagine these are 2 or 3 women that were bothered by that, although it was disproven. But I'm sure there were also 100 women who were flattered by it. You know, so I mean, it's just I don't know. You know, but I was mad at him for quitting as easily as he did.
We used to
I
like
thought he
those. My mother liked those afternoons. Remember the
Oh
afternoon
man,
meetings?
I used to love
She used to
those.
sit up and we used to watch that. I remember
The
that. It was on.
The Cuomo show during
Yeah, we used to watch Get my teas on.
during COVID
Yeah.
was so refreshing and made you feel better
called him
about
handsome.
things.
She liked him.
You know, yeah. Who didn't? You know.
Yeah, he comes across as a nice guy. I mean, he's a politician.
I think,
but
but I think he's an okay guy.
yeah, I don't think he's.
And
I think his mother's
and
still
nobody ever
good.
called him a crook. You know, that
No,
isn't what he
exactly.
got. You know, what he was called was a crook. So, you know, that was fine. You know, can you hear us, Jeff?
I can hear you
Oh,
fine.
oh,
Yeah,
and now
there you
you're
are.
fine.
Right, right.
Now you're fine. Yeah.
Now, what were you going to say?
20 minutes ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't. I don't remember at this point.
Believe me, he's in my age group, and well, almost in my age group. And I know what it's like because after I remember, I have something I want to say, and then one of you guys starts talking about something, and then I forget what I was going
I
to
do
say.
that too.
But then again, that may just be being
Well,
human.
I think I noticed that there are people who are running around in groups on the street and complaining about the Trump. Okay,
Mhm.
and there may be 100 people in this town, and
Well, you're up in Connecticut, right?
in Connecticut, I think they had 500 people there one day, together in Hartford or something like that.
Really protesting Trump.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Well,
But
it's
they're not-
interesting
but they're
because
not particularly articulate about anything. They're just talking about everything.
Yeah.
And somehow you need somebody who can focus.
Well, I put Josh. I put
Problems.
Josh in charge of that.
I think Josh, it could be terrific. And so what? They throw you out,
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Josh. What's going to happen
Every
to
time
you?
they start talking about all this Bibles and all this, I mean, do you want your child to go to a Christian madrasa?
Like,
Just start calling it that. Just start talking like that. You know, I mean, do you want your kids to be radicalized in these Christian madrasas they want to turn our public schools into? I mean, you know, coming out as soldiers for the Lord or whatever. I mean, just start giving people the truth. I mean, yes, you're going to have like 25% of the people who'll be like, hell yeah, that's what I want. But you got to scare the shit out of the 10% that actually decide the election. You know, the moms who don't go to church every Sunday who would be like, what about all that? You know, you
yeah.
know.
Yeah.
I mean, just there's no issue they can come up with where I can't find a way in like 30 seconds to turn it around and put it back on them the way they've been doing it for years.
Yeah.
I mean, they've, you know, I mean, how long can the Democratic Party get outplayed like that before they wake up and realize
Well, as
maybe
long
we
as
have
they,
to start
as long as they
using
think Chuck
this.
Schumer is a good idea.
Yeah.
get him out.
Yeah, right.
You know, I mean, Chuck Schumer should just be pushed off to the sidelines. And I would even want to see Ocasio-Cortez in the foreground because she would start taking names, you know? She'd be
Yeah.
bitching like
Would back
crazy.
down.
You know, I mean, if Schumer has, you know, good parliamentarian type things and he keeps things in line well behind the scenes in the Senate chamber and all that, I can maybe that's the case and I can understand that. And that's good. In fact, it's probably great and I'm sure it's needed.
But I'm tired
But then
of
that's where he
yeah.
can stay.
But
But
I'm-
he's
I'm-
not the
yeah.
guy to me that needs to be on camera.
I'm a
Up
little
front.
tired. I'm a little tired of him with the glasses down around the nose, right?
Yeah.
Boring the bejesus out of us. I mean, he's just boring. He's dull. He you know, if I think that Trump is terrible at reading a teleprompter, he's worst at looking. He reads the printed page just as badly. You know.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's what I'm saying. They need to find somebody, and Schumer isn't it, you know. I mean, Dick Durbin is not a guy that's going to go change people. I mean, again, I'm not saying these people are stupid or whatever. I mean, they're not. I mean, I
Oh,
like
there's
some
some
of,
good guys there, though.
You know, I'm just
Adam-
saying
Needs to
they're
be
not.
repositioned.
Adam
Reposition
Schiff,
them.
You know.
Adam Schiff's pretty good, and
Yeah.
Bernie's still kicking ass, you know, and taking names. He's, you know, so we got there are a couple of them, but rely on these people. Don't rely on Schumer.
But they gotta decide. How,
As
you
a
know,
group.
right, and they gotta. I mean, again, somebody needs to go out there and just tell, like, if Gavin Newsom is going to run for president of the United States, that's fine. He needs to start running today.
Mm-hmm.
I'm serious. I want that motherfucker to start having rallies like fucking tomorrow. Fuck what's going on in California. I'm sure they got a lieutenant governor who can handle all that. You know, I mean, you need to start running for. You can fucking resign and run for president if that's what you want to do. I don't care, but if you're going to do it, you need to start today.
He also, when it's wonderful when Trump landed the Air Force One in California, and Newsom was there to greet him.
Mm-hmm.
Did you notice Melania?
Yeah.
She was getting wet.
He slipped her the tongue. I swear he slipped her the tongue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
she took it.
Yes. But I think he was too nice to Trump. I guess there's a certain amount of politicking you do in a situation like that. But I wouldn't have been that nice,
Well, I mean, on that particular day and time, I guess it doesn't bother me. But again, I want him to have a rally. I want him to start next week, and I want to hear him call him Diaper Don. I mean, let's fucking start the game.
Trump knows how to play that game too. You notice how nice he was to him and to his face, but 30 minutes later, he was in a firehouse talking about how he screwed up and they should have raked the forest and they should have opened the valve and the place has not been managed right, and he talked to him no more than 20 minutes, half hour earlier.
Yeah, but then he went to
the way he works.
So Trump went to the firehouse and said these things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, Democrats just have to change their attitude. They need to understand they're in a gunfight, and instead of saying, "Oh my God, we're in a gunfight," they need to say, "You know what? Fuck, let them come.
Yeah.
Fucking let them come. Let them bring all the motherfuckers they want with them while they're at it too.
Yeah.
Because we're fucking ready for it."
Listen,
I mean, but instead they're like, "God, we're in a fight. What do we do?"
You do have a couple of people who are doing that job. Jimmy Kimmel's pretty good at it.
Yeah, I like Jimmy.
Oh yeah, he's been great.
Kimmel really goes after him. And he has
holding back.
He must have 500 names for the guy now. I don't know how he keeps coming up with them. But he's been going after him for years now and not relenting. And on the other hand, Bill Maher's gotten a little lightweight about it.
I had to quit watching him.
Yeah, but John Oliver is coming back on finally. Does a pretty good job of it. So these are a couple of the people in the media that are doing their job. Forget about Jimmy Fallon. He thinks he's doing political comedy. He's barely doing comedy, okay? And who else? And Colbert, I'm sorry. I just find his material lightweight.
He's dry, Alex, to me. Like, I can't watch him.
I can't watch him either. It's terrible.
I tried to, and it's like he's just bored.
The only thing I like is that Colbert questionnaire thing. I enjoy. Gives me a certain insight into people that, well, I guess I didn't have.
I mean, I wish it were enough to just be right, but it's not.
Yeah. Right now, it's.
I mean, I wish it were. I wish it were. 1902, and we sat around and said, "I disagree with the distinguished gentleman from New Hampshire on this particular." But I'm sorry.
Those days are over.
That ship done fucking sailed, brother. You need to fucking get used to it.
It's a gunfight now, and
Yes.
and I'm
So
sorry.
let 'em come.
Don't bring a knife with you, okay? But anyway, there's our theme song started, but. It's just, here we go. 3 days in a row. What are we talking about?
Puppy.
But because he doesn't leave enough air in the room to talk about other stuff, some of which is really important, I mean, you want to do something about the Department of Education? Well, maybe that's not a bad idea, but you don't shut it down. You do something about it. You bolster it and you make it better. But, I don't know.
It's what stands between the school district in rural Oklahoma forcing your child to go to a Christian madrasa or not. That's how you explain it.
Going to school as a boy and coming back as a girl.
That's how you explain it.
Josh has got the whole thing worked out completely.
What's so hard about that?
Anyway, everybody, thank you. Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate it, as always. And, of course, Josh, good to have you here. The lovely and attractive Charles has been here. Charlie Wallace. Thanks, Charlie. And Tom Yamaguchi. You know we love having you here. Jeff, always nice to see your face there. And finally, the lovely and attractive, what's his name? Oh, yeah, Tony. And that's it. Everybody give a big wave goodbye, and I'll give a big wave goodbye at you. Okay, there they go, folks. That's our citizen panel for tonight. We'll get another citizen panel going next Wednesday at 10. I'll do my closing as I normally do. Stay tuned for Amy Manuel. She's next here with the intersection. She'll be taking your calls at Gabnet Live on Skype. I'll see you on Monday with the pop-up show on Facebook, and then I will see you again on Wednesday, same time, same station in life. In the meantime, as always, if you see her, tell her I love her. I'm almost forgetting how to sign off now, you know.